How's it going, guys? My name is Alex, and I'm going to tell you about the time that I got busted growing weed. So, take it back to like August of 2016. Me and my girlfriend are living in the town that I grew up in this little, kind of like a little trailer. And we both come home from work one night. We both said we want to start smoking weed. So, I buy weed for my cousin, and it's fine. I mean, the weed was okay. And, but it was just kind of sketchy buying weed from him because I don't know where he's getting it from. I don't know what's in the weed. You never know. Um, I wasn't some weed guru. My girlfriend smoked weed more than I ever had. So it was just kind of sketchy. But I'm hanging out with one of my other friends, and I'm like, we're talking about weed, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I used to grow weed. It's pretty easy. You should try it." And I'm like, "We're like thinking about it." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, it's easy." And I'm like, "Ah, no, that's a crazy idea." But it kind of stuck in the back of my head. So a couple weeks go by, and I'm like, that wouldn't be too bad to have all ounces of weed, fucking as much weed as I want. So I'm like, that okay. So I start looking into it. Start go to YouTube, go to Google, and I learn everything I can possibly learn about it. And so I actually became like borderline obsessed for a little while because I just got so interested in it because it's such a it was really fascinating to me to learn all this stuff. So my mom gets a hold of me and she's like, "Hey, I was wondering, would you want to move back in with me?" Her and her boyfriend were breaking up, and she wanted to know if I would move in with her, and she didn't want to live alone. So I talked to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Yeah, that's fine." So we move in with my mom, and I tell my girlfriend about my idea about me wanting to grow weed, and she's like, "No, we have a daughter. We have at the time our daughter was like 1." And so my girlfriend wasn't into it at first, but I kind of like, oh, we get all the weed we want. We know where it's coming from. Like we can make extra money on the side. And so she's like, okay. I talk her into it. So I go to my mom and I'm like, hey, I want to know if I can grow weed in the spare bedroom. My mom's like, um, no. She's like, not going for it, right? My mom has no problem with weed. That's not the thing. She doesn't care about weed. She doesn't smoke it. She doesn't smoke cigarettes. She doesn't drink alcohol. She doesn't do any of that stuff. But she's okay with it. So um, I talked to my mom, kind of like ease it onto her, and she finally she goes for it. So I get Amazon Prime and make a couple trips to Walmart, and I get everything. I get high pressure sodium light bulb. I get shop light. I get 5-gallon buckets. I get um, respirators for the. I was growing with hydroponics, and for those of you who don't know what hydroponics was, I didn't know what it was until I started growing, so don't feel bad. It's whatever you grow a plant with literally just water. I had netting pots, and in the netting pot you have these like lava rock kind of type things. Um, that's not actually what they're called, but they're kind of like lava rocks. And you start your seed out in a sponge, and then you kind of put it in there, and the roots will grow through the lava rock into the water, and you have like a bubbler, so like a fish tank bubbler, and that's how you grow a plant. Okay, so I order seeds from like the Netherlands or something like that. It takes them like fucking 2 months to get to my house, but I got them, and I ordered Northern Lights, which is a great strain, and I grow it. So I start growing weed. My first plant comes out fucking beautiful, beautiful. Everything I read was like you probably get 4 ounces, probably get 3 ounces. I think after it was dried and cured and all that stuff, I got 7 ounces of weed off my first plant. So I was like, damn, I'm pretty decent at this. Which there's people who grow 2 pound plants. This is indoors. So 7 ounces off your first plant is pretty good. I mean, I think it's pretty good. But so anyway, so I started growing weed, and my mom's ex boyfriend, he's coming back and forth between the houses because he's getting his stuff right. Well, he one time we weren't home. I guess I don't really know what happened because I wasn't there. Nobody else was there. But somehow he finds out that I'm growing weed. And he comes to my mom, and he goes to her and he's like, I seen that you guys were growing weed in there, and there's two locks on the door though, right? So I know he broke in. He had to have broken into the room to see this because I'm the only person with the key for the lock to the door, and the second lock, which is one of the like the spinny like locks you'd use in high school on your locker, um, like a padlock. And I'm the only one that knows the combination to that. So I'm the only person that can get into this room. But somehow he found out there was plants in there. So he had to have broken into it, right? Because there's ways that you could have broken into it, or that he could have. So he goes to my mom. And he's like, I know what you guys are doing, and that's against the law and stuff. And she's like, shut up, like it's none of your business. Stay out of it. And I should have just stopped growing. I should have just not been growing anymore. But talked to her about it, and she's like, no, it's fine. He's not gonna tell anybody, and all that stuff. I'm like, okay. So she reassures me that he's not gonna tell anybody. So I'm like, okay, it's fine, it's good. So I keep growing, and I get through my first plant, and then I do two more, starting a perpetual grow. So marijuana has two different life cycles, right? You have to take the room that I was using, split it up into two different size, which I'll make a video over that if you guys are interested in it, how I was growing, and draw your diagram or whatever the hell you want to know how my grow room was set up. But growing plants, you have kind of two different phases of life. Really, you have like 3, 4, but two different phases of the main parts of their life, where they're like baby and teenagers, and the other side there's a whole different like light cycle you have to have for them. So split my room up. It's going great. I get my first plant down, get those 7 ounces off of it, get my next 2 plants. I was just finishing up my second grow, and it was December. It was my cousin's birthday. It was December 30th. I drive up to get him. My daughter had just had her first birthday, so she wasn't just learning how to walk, right? So I go pick up my cousin, crashes at my place that night, and I wake up that next morning. It was December 31st, and he's comes in my bedroom, peeks his head, and he's like, "Hey man, you guys want to smoke weed?" And at this point, we had a lot of weed, right? Me and my girlfriend were smoking a fuckload of weed every 2 hours. We're going fucking lighting up a bowl, rolling joints, rolling fucking blunts and stuff. Which I'm more of a joint kind of guy. I don't like. I mean, blunts are fine. Don't get me wrong, but I like having no joint. It was good for me and her. We'd pass it back and forth. Our tolerance got to where, I mean, we'd fucking smoke, and an hour and a half later we got to smoke again, because we had just smoked so much, and it had only been like 6 months, not even that, like 4 months probably. So my cousin comes in my room with a canister of weed. We didn't have anything in our bedroom. We didn't keep pipes or anything in there, because our daughter was in our room with us, and we didn't want to take a chance of her getting hold of it. If she was either gonna get a hold of marijuana bud and eat it, or beer, I'm gonna want her to get a hold of marijuana bud. For her, it wouldn't have hurt her at all. But we keep it out of her reach. Try to be responsible. So he comes in my bedroom, but he sets his canister on my dresser, and I forgot about it. He forgot about it, but it's on the dresser. And so I'm like, nah, man, like, we'll go out there, don't worry about it. So we go out in the smoke room, and we light up and we hang out for a while. It's my girlfriend's brother and sister. There's twins, right? It's like their 10th birthday or I think it was their 9th birthday. And they're having their birthday party at this bowling alley. It's about 15-minute drive from my house into the next town over. So we're like, okay, we'll go to the bowling alley. So we smoke, get ready, get our shit together, we leave, go to the bowling alley. Start off like normal ass day, just good, good mood. Everything was fine. And then get to the bowling alley. We just gotten there. We hadn't been there very long. And I get my phone starts going off. So I pick up my phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's my brother. And he's like, hey man, you might want to get out to the house. Like, something's going on. There's his friend Luke, who owns this like shop kind of by our house. It's like for farm equipment. His friend Luke seen that there was a bunch of cops. There's a bunch of cops getting fucking swatted up. They got SWAT gear on and shit. And they're getting their shit together. They're getting like bulletproof vests on. They're getting all sorts of stuff. So instantly he says that, I'm fucking freaking out. I'm like, oh fuck, dude, okay. Hopefully he's joking because my brother, I couldn't see him making a joke like that, but we fucked with each other a lot. So, and his friend Luke, he wouldn't just call my brother randomly and be like, "Hey, there's like a SWAT team like a mile up the road from your parents, from your mom's house." So he, I'm like, "Hey, dude, whatever, okay, I'll go back to the house." So I hang up, I go back into the bowling alley. I'm like, "Hey, Sophie," it's my girlfriend. I'm like, "Hey, Sophie," get my cousin. I'm like, "We gotta go." My girlfriend's like, "Well, what's going on? What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing." I was like, "We just gotta go back to the house." So we get in the car and we're driving back, and you guys can't. I can't even begin to tell you guys how it feels to know that you have marijuana growing in your house, and to know that you're about to probably pull into your yard and there's going to be a couple cops there and they're going to arrest you and you're going to go to jail. I had never been in trouble before. I've never been pulled over. Never been giving a warning. Like I've literally never been pulled over by the cops. Never been in any trouble in my life. I was fucking goody two shoes, kind of. Um, I had done illegal shit, but I just never got caught. But anyways, so it's the worst feeling in the world. And I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, "Hey, there's cops." My brother told me that Rick said there's cops at the house. I don't know what to expect, so just be ready for whatever. Okay. So we're driving back out. I'm telling my cousin, I'm like, "Hey man, I'm breaking the news," and we get out to the house. I'm like, "He's probably just messing with us. Like, it's fine, it's fine." We get up to the road. We live on a gravel road, right? We get up, come off on the pavement, and the road kind of veers off this direction. It goes gravel. But we live off that gravel road about a mile. I'm driving up the road, and as I'm driving up the road, our house is kind of up on the hill. As the road goes, it hangs a left, and it goes up on this hill. I can see the house, and I can see there's fucking white cars all over, and I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, he wasn't joking. This is the real deal. So I don't know what to do. So I just drive up there. I'm not gonna run. Get myself in more trouble. So we drive up to the house. I pull up in there into our driveway. Uh, the head cop or whatever, he comes over. He opens up my door and he's like, "Are you Alex Corcoran?" I'm like, "Yeah," which he already knew me. He knows my family. I think it's like I said, it's a super small town, and so I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Go ahead and step out of the car for me." So I step out and he takes my ID, handcuffs me, and he walks me into the house. I'm the first person he takes in there. Him and three cops walk me into the house. They're like, "Go ahead and have a seat." So as I'm walking into the house, I walk through our front porch, and I look over and they have this fucking big ass battering ram. Like they were ready to knock that motherfucker in and come running into the house. So it's just it blows my mind. It's so surreal. It's a surreal feeling having that many cops at your house, having something like this happen to you. So especially if you've never been in trouble before. So I go in there and I sit down, and they say, "Well, we've been through the house. You know, we we've seen everything. It's in here, and we want to know if you want to talk." I'm like, instantly he says that. I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, there's no way. There's no way. There's nothing I can say." So I said to him, "There's nothing I can say to you guys that's gonna help my case." They're like, "So you want a lawyer?" So I was like, "Yeah." So they take me back out to one of their cruisers, one of their SUVs, and still in handcuffs, and they throw me in the back of it. And I'm sitting there, and I got my hands behind my back, and I'm looking over, and I'm like, fuck, dude, like the worst situation. They go get my girlfriend. She's holding our daughter. They go and get my girlfriend. And they take her into the house, and I didn't know what was going on, but later on she tells me that they took her in there, and they walked her to our bedroom, and they showed her this canister that my cousin had forgotten. I had totally forgot about it too, and they said, "Do you think your daughter could reach this?" Um, Mind you, my daughter's just a year old, can barely walk, and this stands close to 4 feet tall. So there's no way she could reach this canister, right? But they're cops, so yeah. Um, they're trying to get her to tell them something, and she's crying, she's really upset about it, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, what are they saying to her in there? Like, what is she saying? I don't know. Which I knew she'd stay strong. She wasn't gonna roll on us or anything. But anyway, so they take her out there, and the hardest thing about this whole part was watching her crying and have to hand our daughter over to my brother, who my brother had showed up in the meantime while she was in the house, and he's playing off like, oh, what's going on? My mom was there. She's, what's going on? So, anyways, fast forward, they arrest me, they arrest my girlfriend, they arrest my mom and my mom's boyfriend that was living with us in that house. Not Mark, not the one that had moved out, but the new one, the guy she'd been with before, but they started talking again. So he was living with us. So all four of us, the whole house, besides my daughter, they arrested all of us, took us all to jail. So they take me and my mom in one cruiser. They take my mom's boyfriend and my girlfriend in another one, and they drive us to jail, and they make us strip down. They book us in and all that stuff. And I spent my first night in jail in this cell with my fucking blanket around me, and I got my back staring at this wall. Of course, the other guys that were in there, they had asked if they could stay up a little bit later than lights out, so they could watch the ball drop because it's New Year's Eve, right? They're psyched, but it was terrible. It was the worst experience, and it was just all over a plant. That's the worst part. It was all over this fucking plant. I wasn't hurting anybody. I wasn't trying to if they would have let me pay taxes, I would have, I would have not broke the law in any other way, but it's all over a plant. So I ended up spending 3 days in jail, just sitting there, and I don't know what's going on. I can't talk to my mom. I can't talk to my mom's boyfriend. But luckily, they didn't put me in. My mom's boyfriend, his name's Randy. They didn't put me and Randy in the same cell area, but they put us across from each other. Well, it's glass, and we can't talk to each other at all. But I can see him sitting in there. And I'm walking. First day I wake up and I walk over, and I'm like, I'm sick as fuck because I'm nervous and I'm scared and stuff. But I walk over and I'm like looking in there, and I'm like making sure he's good. I'm like, hey man, are you good and stuff? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm like freaking out about this. But so I just kind of laid low in jail. Right, there's about 4 other guys in there, and it's just county jail. It wasn't scary really. Small town anyway, so all the guys in there were cool. But this one guy, I forget his name, Hispanic guy. He's like, I'm sitting there, and he comes up to me. He's like, yo, so what are you in here for? I'm like, I was growing weed, and I got in trouble for it, which I didn't confess to that. The way I told him was like, I was arrested for growing weed. I didn't say I was growing weed. I just said I was arrested for it. And he's like, oh shit, man, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh dude, yeah, me too. And I'm like, what? Like, you're arrested for growing weed? He's like, well, no. I mean, I used to grow weed in California, but no, I'm arrested for making edibles. And I'm like, oh shit, man, that's crazy. So he starts telling me all these. He's like, so how was you doing it? You want to know my setup and stuff? So I was like, kind of skeptical about it. I wasn't really into telling anybody my shit because I didn't know like what was going on. I didn't know if he could be a cop or if he could be like undercover somehow or anything. But so me and him start talking. He starts giving me all these tips and all these things you can do for your plants to make them more healthy. And I'm like, they arrested me for growing weed, but whenever I'm in jail, I fucking come out with a PhD on growing weed. They didn't even like. I learned more being in there than I would have if they would have never arrested me. Now I can just grow more weed at one time, which is kind of funny. But so I'm still in jail. I had some cash on me. They put in my books whenever I had gotten there, and so I cannot remember my brother's phone number while I'm in there, but I get a phone call, right, and I have this little payphone thing. I have to fucking swipe this card in or whatever. I try calling my brother, and he doesn't fucking pick up. I try calling him 3 or 4 times, and I only get so many calls. And finally, he picks up. I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Hey, we're trying to get you guys out. This is what's going on." And he starts telling me about how right now our bond, each one of our bonds, whenever we went in, they put our bonds at $2,000. That before we were in there for even 12 hours, they bumped each person's bond up to $10,000. So you have to have 10. You have to have 10%. Whenever you go in jail, you have to come up with 10% of your bond, of your of your bail, so that you can bond out at 10% of that. I didn't know how that worked. I'd never been in trouble. So, each one of us was $1,000. None of us have $1,000. I don't have fucking $1,000 sitting in the bank. If I did, I wouldn't be getting myself out. There's 3 other people in here that deserve to get out before me. I was the one growing weed. And, especially my mom. I really wanted my mom to get out because she didn't deserve to be in jail. So, we spend 3 days in jail, and on the 3rd day, finally they come in and they slip a paper underneath my door. And I go over to it and they tell me it's for me. I pick it up and they took my bond down from 2,000. Took it from, no, excuse me, it was 5,000. That's what it was. It was 5,000. They took it from 5,000 when I first got in there, doubled it to 10,000, went back down to 2,000. Later on, somebody told me that the reason why they bumped it up to 10,000 is because if I had somebody in my family that they had $1,000, then they would have got that $1,000. They would have gotten that $10,000 off of me if I would have messed up. So, anyways, they would get more money. That's why they bump it up. So, as soon as you get in there, they bump it up. And the worst part of it was their reasoning for bumping my bond up, me and my girlfriend and my mom and all them. The reason for bumping our bail up was because we're a flight risk. I'm like, I've never been arrested in my life. You have no idea. You have no reason to think I'm a flight risk. Do you think I'm gonna run? My mom owns her house literally 15 minutes away from this town. She's not just gonna run. But whatever. Anyways, so we ended up getting charged with 4 charges. Paraphernalia, which is a fucking joke. Paraphernalia charge. Child endangerment because of my daughter. There was another one. I forget what it was called, but it was for gathering with intent to use a controlled substance. So it's just like a bunch of people being together and wanting to smoke. And then the last one was manufacturing of a controlled substance, which was the growing of weed. So that's what they got me on. It was rough. It was a rough experience. I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits there. 23 minutes into this. I'll make another video. I'll probably try to post it next week. So yeah, it was bad. So go ahead and look for that other video. I will try to post these about a week apart. If you guys have anything else you want to know, any questions you want to ask me about anything, fucking just leave in the comments. I'm an open book, so anything you guys want to know, just let me know. Okay. So peace out, guys. Have a good one, and thanks.